Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Think It Pod, where we talk with founders, builders, or problem solvers in general. And today we have a special guest, and I know most of you guys already know about him. Today we have the creator of AceternityUI, Mannu Arora, who is famously known as Mannu Paji on social media. Before even starting, this pod, I want to share with you that I'm a backend guy, and I was not much aware about UI, UX, and I was not at all interested. And I found Aceternity through Twitter last year only, and I am following Manu's work. He's a great guy. He's really serious about shipping. We'll ask a lot of questions, and but before that, Manu, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
So thanks, Lovepreet, for having me, and thank you for the warm introduction. My name is Manu, and I've been coding probably mostly in the full stack domain for over 6-7 years now, and I've built a lot of products for the past, 5 years if I remember correctly, and mostly are towards front end. Recently, and the most recent product that I've been working on is AceternityUI, which is a component library that helps people spin up landing pages faster. So I dabble around front end in general, and I have my own web dev agency. But at heart, I'm a sole front end kind of a person who loves crafting interfaces and components in general. So yeah, that is a bit about me, and I share a common passion with you, Lovepreet, which is of creating things that actually matter and also teaching people along the way. So yeah, that was a bit about me.
Cool, cool. Okay. So before coming to Aceternity, that obviously we'll talk about. But Manu, I would like to know what is your career path like in brief, how you started, and I want to personally know where you started from.
Awesome. So I started back in 2018 professionally when I interned at Intel. It was a work from home internship. Didn't amount to anything. So I was not very much serious in college initially, except I never went to college properly. So all my learnings came from self learning from tutorials. For example, you have your own backend channel, right? At that point, I used to follow Brad Traversy's YouTube channel for learning, JavaScript and its frameworks. JavaScript and web was my starting point because the friction which was there for me to learn and actually build something was less. It was more back in the day in mobile and things like AI and ML. But for web, it was fairly simple and straightforward. I could spin up a web server in PHP and see what I was coding and deploy it over some FTP server and store it over a cPanel drive and launch it for people to see. So the entry barrier was really less, and that is what helped me initially to get working with web in general. But then
Got it.
placements happened. I was like any other person placed in a mass recruiter. I was placed in LNT, which was in Mumbai, but the pay was so less that it didn't make sense for me to go there because the pay was so less and it was Mumbai. I couldn't afford it, so I had to
Yes, sir.
take a year off to figure out. LNT was one such company. There were two other companies which were mass recruiters, but again, one was in Chennai and one was here. I was not really interested in moving out because I'm born and brought up by a single mother. I had to be there with my mother all the time. So I thought of why not work from my home itself. That is when
Got it.
I also started preparing for Gate. It was in late 2019, I think, and I started preparing for Gate. And the sole reason for preparing for Gate was to get a better job because I never was able to crack IIT. So I thought if I could clear Gate and get a master's degree from IT, I might have a shot at placements after 2 years, which might be a good idea. But then Gate rank was not that good. Although I cleared Gate, it was a decent rank, but then it was not enough to get into some reputed IITs. Then
Okay.
again, I had to join a small startup, and that was the first one that I took. I applied on LinkedIn. The company was Emeralds, and I got in. There were 4 interviews, simple interviews, and at that point, I was fairly comfortable with React because at the end of third year, I started studying from all these tutorials, like what is React, what is JavaScript. I was fairly easy. I had all the tutorial knowledge, and I thought I knew everything by then, but I was very wrong. And I had basic interview skills, so I got into one company. I started actually my development journey, and from there on,
Got it.
I was lucky. I got good mentors and managers initially, who are like lifelong friends. I was just talking to my ex manager like 15 minutes back. Good
Yeah.
manager, good mentor. I mean, not good, great manager and great mentors. I got to learn a lot. The pay was not that good, but the learnings were extremely good. I got a reality check. Like, I knew nothing. I thought by taking like two React tutorials and creating full stack projects from scratch by looking at tutorials, I thought I knew everything, but I was so wrong. When it came to real world programming, I had to unlearn pretty much everything and learn new concepts, and that I think gave me the confidence to build things from scratch, like bare metal things. So yeah,
Got
I
it.
think mentorship played a really crucial role in my journey. The
Got it.
mentor that taught me everything, I think I
Yeah,
owe my
even
career to
even
him.
even I started with JavaScript, as you mentioned, that very
Yeah.
low, entry barrier, and you can just spin up things, and you can experiment with different things, deploy, and you can see things working in action.
Yeah.
But few of the pointers that Manu mentioned, that although he was getting less pay, but he got out of his comfort zone, and then he got some switches. He made some switches and all, but along the way he learned a lot, and he made good bets. And obviously the risk is there, and he took the risk, and now he's here, right? He's working on Aceternity.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned about different tech stacks. I hope like my next question is already answered, like which you have worked on, key what tech stacks you have worked on, what things you have explored. So okay, skipping all those questions, uh, straight coming to the Aceternity, why you started building Aceternity at the very first place? First thing I know that is ki you love UI UX, that I know from your Twitter and your content. But what other reasons you have in your mind that why you started Aceternity at the very first place?
So I always, take tech as a source for me to make money. So I'm passionate about coding. That is a given thing. But when
Okay.
it comes to making money, I think tech is something that I can actually leverage and make a lot of money, and not just fulfill my basic needs. And if I have a monthly salary coming in, I just don't want to stop there. So this feeling I had from the very start, like tech is an enabler for me,
Got
and
it.
if I'm good at something in tech, there is a market for it, and people are willing to pay for it. Salary is something which is limited, and there is a career graph which is associated with. For example, if I am earning X amount today, the next year or probably 2 years after that, I'd be earning X plus 20% of X, or whatever the increment cycle is these
Yeah,
days.
got it. Yes.
But since people are ready to pay for things which are actually out there, which are called products, or if you would say SaaS products, so there is no upper limit to what you can make through that. So that was pretty much exciting for me to actually start something of my own from the very start. And the other thing is, I can't really have a boss around me telling me to do things all over. I mean, I was lucky I got a really good project manager who never made me feel that way, or a really great mentor who never really cared if I worked or not, because I was pretty much already working. I was very sincere with my work. But there are people, I mean, whose boss are not that great.
Yeah,
So
I know.
I
Yes.
always think of it this way: what if I had to join a company tomorrow and I get a very bad boss? Will I be able to survive? So the answer is no. So I always had this urgency in me that I have to build something on my own so that I can be at least financially independent. I'll do my job just for the sake of learning or learning new things. But if I'm going to make money from it, it better come from my own thing or my side project or my SaaS application. So
Yeah,
that feeling was there from the very start. Now I didn't want
got it.
to risk everything. I wanted to always take calculated bets. So I was working my daytime job. I had my nights and weekends that I could spend on products, and I had no problem banging my head against a keyboard. And because if you consider other professions, you have to go out work in some other place or some other city. You have to look out for food. You have to do, laborious tasks. I just have
Yes.
to type some keystrokes and, my work gets done. So I had leverage. That is
Got
when
it.
I realized I think I can, make something out of it. I was motivated enough. I had money as my motivation. Not sure if it is
Yes.
good or not, but this worked for me.
Yeah,
Money
I
was,
mean,
oh, yeah,
yes. I
money
mean,
was,
money is the biggest motivation.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So making money was the biggest motivating factor for me because I mean, even if whatever I earn today, I'm not satisfied. Even tomorrow, I might make 10x. I might not be satisfied, but that is some goal that I would love to, chase throughout my life, and I
Got it.
find happiness in that. So yeah, coming back to the point, components, why? Because entry to barrier was easier. I was getting really good at designing components in general, and I wherever whatever I built, people always complimented me on my design skills and design sense. So I thought, why not capitalize on it, and why to go around and reinvent the wheel, do something else, and try and test if that works, if there is something which is already there which works for me. So I tried to monetize it initially, even though that failed. The very first product that I made failed, but then that was another learning lesson for my business journey. Like, even if you're good at something, if you cannot market it and you don't have the right business skills or strategies to approach it, you might fail. So that was another
Got it.
lesson. But then yeah, that was the reason I
Yeah.
approached components from the start.
Got it. So, Manu mentioned one great pointer is which is key, basically mentorship, right? So even I find like even if I'm working in some big MNC or a small startup, mentorship has to have always be there, from where you will learn and you'll form some set of known technical skills also that Manu mentioned, key business
Yeah.
skills, right? Those skills will come from your experience, and that I completely agree with. And yeah, and the second pointer that Manu mentioned is that for him it is money, and money is the biggest motivation factor even for me, because the background from where I think all of us in India on an average come, we have this factor as the biggest motivator, and I completely agree with this pointer. And before going to another questions, I just want to ask one more question, which is key, basically how much time you spent on building Aceternity, because people only know the day when announce the launch of
Yeah.
Aceternity UI. People only know ki bhai you have built this UI, and they don't even know the struggles, the time that you have put. So how much the timeline exactly you can think of ki you have spent on Aceternity?
I mean, all I mean, after, apart from, so when I was working at Emeralds, I was also working at Aceternity. So
As your side project?
as my side project, yes. So
Okay.
as I said, I took a calculated bet, right? So I used to complete my tasks. So I had weekly tasks. I made sure I complete my tasks within 2 days, and the remaining days I used to work on my side project. And I have no clue. Like, I don't remember, not spending a single hour onto something else. I was just building that because I knew if I had this framework in place, I might not have to work this hard later on. So I was pretty much working all the time. So after my
Got
job
it.
work, I was working. I used to wake up, I used to eat. I used to eat on my table. I used to watch some tech tutorial, get back to work, build it, build new components, research new components, talk to a
Got
lot
it.
of people. So this was happening all the time. I used to be perpetually onto my system 24 by 7.
Got it.
I
So
don't remember even,
okay.
when I used to fall asleep when initially I was building it. Now, if you ask me, I work barely 4 or 5 hours a day on Eternity, and that is deep work that I do. I'm totally focused for 4 or 5 hours, and then I leave it. I have other aspects to take care, like business, new opportunities, and stuff like that. But initially, I was all in. It was
Got
nothing
it.
else except Eternity. Yeah.
Yeah, with time, I mean, obviously you have learned time management very well, and
Yeah.
obviously it is also an experience, time management skills, business skills.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, cool. So uh, what is the future vision of Aceternity as of now? Though I know that you have Aceternity Pro, you are working on some AI features of Aceternity, some special features, but what is the long term vision you have for this agency?
So right now, Eternity as a company has a service domain which is website development for clients. We've got
Okay.
Aceternity Pro, which is like premium components. One is Aceternity UI, which is like free UI components for people who want to dabble into front end, make their landing pages good. And the latest we are working on is called Ace Builder, which is an Aceternity UI Pro based landing page builder with prompts and whatever you see, similar concept like V0 or Lovable, but solely trained on Aceternity. That is the next product. What I want to have in Aceternity at this point is we want to create cool products, and we just don't want to stick to front end anymore.
Okay.
So, for example, there is Poimandress, right? They build cool tools or cool libraries. For example, they have a plethora of projects which are really popular and they build it. I want Aceternity to be that. We are also dabbling with the government. For example, we want to build tools and tech for the government. That is one domain that we're working on. The
Okay.
other
I
is we
didn't know
want,
about this.
yeah, so that is actually what I'm primarily working on. So most of the components that you see, I build them, but then service part is handled by the team, mostly delegated. All the other things are mostly delegated. Right now, we are working with the government. We're trying to work with the government. So that is one aspect of it, and we really want to build cool products, man. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be tightly knit with the front end community, but tech in general should be accessible, and tech in general should be useful in the Indian ecosystem as well, at least. So that
Okay.
is what
So
I'm targeting, and that is
your
what we are.
point is basically you're using tech as an enabler, and we can
Yeah.
even see ORM coming out of Aceternity. Who knows, right?
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yes. So, someone coming from JS background,
Yeah.
uh, who is purely into JS, React, and all, what are the things that are way too easy to, experiment with Aceternity? Is it components only as of now, or there are other features also, which is, very beginner friendly, and I can just go and use it straight away?
Yeah, I mean components. If someone is getting in the design engineer path, actually, if you are that person, I think Aceternity components can really help. There is a playground that you can play with, and I'm pretty much going to make it open source like in the next weeks. I need to get the documentation right. There is playground, so for anyone who's going, I mean, with respect to AceternityUI's website, you can learn a lot by looking at the code itself because everything is self-explanatory. There is nothing rocket science there. I mean, animations in general are quite easy. There is nothing that you can learn except for developing your own taste, which I think is the most difficult thing,
Yes, yes, agree.
because everyone can write CSS, or even AI can write CSS, but you have to have taste in order to make really good looking components. And I highly recommend people who are getting into design engineering to look at a lot of designers at a really great startups. For example, Clerk or Vercel, their design engineering and designing team are very much active on Twitter, and they post their interactions also. So you can get to learn a lot about their thought process. Like, even if they are designing a button, there goes a lot of thinking into how to make it visually good, as well as making it really good on the eye. So all those interactions and all those design thinking principle come into place, and it makes you a better engineer in general. So I think,
Right.
yeah, if you go to the Aceternity UI website, I think these are the things that you can learn. Except from the YouTube channel, you can learn front end engineering from there. That is good.
Got it. So yeah, completely agree. Like the taste, the point you have mentioned on key, you have to have some taste in front end or not front end, but design in general,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, completely agree. Like even if I know all the concepts of
Yeah.
JavaScript, CSS, and even LLMs can write that. So I might find it difficult to build good UX websites, right?
Yeah.
Um, cool. So one thing that I just recently, listening to your stream, and you mentioned that now you're also focusing on distribution. So
Yeah.
I think in nowadays distribution matters a lot. Earlier
Yeah.
it was like if you are solving someone's problem and there is less friction into if I'll take your solution, my friction will get reduced. I'll most probably might have used that component or software, right? But
Yeah.
right now I think distribution is another key.
Yeah.
So even in my fourth year, right, I was not even active on Twitter, and you mentioned that if you are into design, if you are into front end, then follow some specific people like from Versal and from other companies, right, that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But Coming to social media and distribution, how much weightage you will give to this component specifically when it comes to building products or business in general as solopreneur?
First, I would suggest is get really good at your craft. If that is a
Okay.
given, if you're really good at your craft, then it becomes fairly easy to streamline the social media game. For example, if you're still learning, the things that you can post is, for example, you made a component and you are still learning. Your component might not be that great, but you're learning, right? You'll
Right.
target a specific kind of an audience with that, and you probably will attract like-minded people. If you want to
Right.
position yourself as an expert onto social media, you have to be really good at your craft, and you can do that iteratively as well. For example, now if I post a component, I know that the component is good, but I still take community feedback. That is how you make a connection with your audience as well. It is not about just telling 100 days of code, or I learned this, I learned that. That is not so much of sharing. It is so much of clearing off a task of your to-do list. If you want to really share onto social media, you really want to talk to a lot of people and genuinely be interested in whatever you're doing, so that you can continue it for a long time. Now, if I'm good at creating components and I genuinely like creating components or front end in general, I can do it every day. But if you're not genuinely interested, or you're faking it for the sake of doing it, you'll quit after let's say 100 days. Makes no sense. So if you're a budding engineer or a design engineer or whatever engineer you are, I recommend that you join these social media places and start sharing whatever you have learned, and connect with like-minded people, jinse you can probably talk and exchange your 2 cents on specific topics. Now, I recommend X or Twitter because every founder of a company is there. Every big
Right.
company's founder or an entrepreneur or someone who is good at their craft is already there. You won't find their Instagram probably, but you'll find their Twitter or X. So
Got it.
this increases your chances of visibility, of getting more opportunities later down the road. For example, I will give you a small example. If at all you are trying to get into business, I recommend opening your company today, because it will increase your company's lifespan. Similarly, if you're learning, I recommend you start posting on Twitter today, so that tomorrow when you get good at your craft, you'll have more authority when you post something. So I think
Right.
sharing as you go or video content these days is really good, but make sure you're genuinely interested and you're providing value.
Right.
Everywhere you go, you must ensure that you're giving something or providing some value. So people, this is a give and take situation. Everywhere this is a give and take situation. Both parties win in this. It is a win-win situation. Wherever you go, impart your value, you get something in return, maybe respect, maybe money, maybe whatever it is. But if you're giving your value also, I mean, if you're imparting value, for example, if people come and copy components from my website and they use it onto their website, the least they'll do is word of mouth, which eventually will help me later down the road. So it is a
Right.
give and take situation everywhere. Think of it as that way only. There is nothing wrong with it, but posting on social media is as important as crafting your skills. So take that part as well seriously. This is
Got
what
it.
I think about this whole social media and development, because earlier in my career I just built things and nobody was using it. The day I started building and also sharing, that is when it picked up. That is when it was picked up by Fireship. I didn't even know that he was about to release a video on it. People told me, and I was like at what, 10,000 followers back then, and Eternity picked
Got it.
up when I was at 2,000 followers, I think. So yeah, you
Got
never
it.
know. And Twitter is a place which doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have zero followers or 100 million followers. If your content is good, you'll work.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I completely agree. Like, I was also not on Twitter earlier in my, college days. And on LinkedIn, I just noticed that people always type interesting post or CFBR and all these kind of things. But on Twitter, if you are new, right, and you are genuinely interested in someone's content and you just go through the post, right, and try to give feedback and try to ask questions which genuinely spark in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And even I have also told people that I also learned it after a so long time, that even if I didn't know front end and I'm only working on, let's suppose, machine learning, or let's suppose backend in general, right? People keep on thinking that they don't know front end and they are not able to represent their project because they don't know front end, right? But the thing is, there are some blog sites, right, where you can go. There is Twitter where you can go and share your learnings. The
Yeah.
sole purpose of your writing, of your learnings, sharing learnings, should be that if someone is trying to learn that concept and he is able to learn in, let's suppose, 1 hour, then your blog might be capable of helping him to
Yeah.
learn in, let's suppose, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So you are doing something here, which is you are reducing friction in learning journey of someone, be it
Yeah.
beginner, intermediate, or advanced person, whatever, right? So there is some value attached even with your a simple text based blog.
Yeah.
So yeah, even like now also, I whenever I learn something and I just try to share on YouTube as in form of video content. And earlier I used to write blogs, but yeah, that is a very great step towards your learning. It will just act as a catalog to your learning, right? You can just go back in time and just check how naive you were when you
Yeah.
started, right? So that is also one point. And yeah, Manu, so people who are new to our channel, they can just go into description and check out Aceternity, and it's super simple to use. And even beginner who is just new in JavaScript ecosystem, he can just directly start from there, right? Okay, Manu, one last question.
Yeah.
How you avoided distractions at the very first place? Because I'm assuming that when you started Aceternity or your side project, a small side project at that time, I would say, how were you avoiding distractions? Because I think it was not making money at that
Yeah.
time. So yeah, that's my most important question that I personally want to know.
So I always wanted to make money. I mean, I always wanted to make a lot of money. I still want to make hell a lot of money. So at the back of my mind, it was always there. Ki, how can I make money? How can I make money? How can I make money? Even though
Okay.
I was earning, whatever money I was earning in my startup earlier, the company which I was in, always to think, how can I make more? I do not want to restrict myself to some number. I want to make more. I used to earlier read a lot of blogs on how to make money, you know, drop shipping and this and that. Nothing would, stick to me. I used to
Okay.
watch a lot of videos like, what can I do to make money? How can I make my first internet dollar was the question. How
Yeah,
can I
similar
make
story.
money from internet? So I used to go on Upwork, no success. Fiverr, no success. I got into TopTal. First interview I failed. Second interview, first interview I remember I failed because it was a React question and I was not able to pass in the props into a component, and I thought I knew React. That was such a blunder. That is what I thought I knew, but then it was a reality check. I didn't know shit. All was tutorial knowledge.
Yeah.
So second interview, which was like 3 months later, I cleared the front end round fairly easily because I was, I got into a company back then. So I was fairly good at React after exam for say after a month. I mean, great at React. I mean, coding really good. And I cleared the front end round. The next round was a data structure algorithm round. For fuck's sake, I don't even know why did they have a DS algo round. And the guy was an Indian who was interviewing me.
Okay.
And he rejected me on that DSA question. It was really, I mean, I wanted to be a freelancer on TopTal for React based projects. And they threw me out for a DSA question. So it was really shocking. So I was like, fuck it. I'd just, continue on Upwork. And luckily I found after, I had to work a lot on my proposals. And at that point, previously Upwork was not that saturated. And a founder reached out because he saw my side project, Tailwind Master Kit, which is a component library, my first component library. And he was like, did you build it from scratch? I said, yes. All the components are designed and built by you. He said, yes. He was like, okay, I wanted to work on this project. No interview, nothing. That is when
Okay.
it opened the doors for me. And I have never seeked motivation since then because this is something which has to come internally. If I watch a video of motivation, it might last for an hour, But after
Yeah.
that hour, what am I supposed to do if it is not coming from within? You have to have some, your strongest reason as to why you want to do something. Now, I'll be very
Correct.
clear. My motivation is money. I want to make a lot of money, and this is very tangible for me. This is not something that I want to say, ki, bhai, I'm very passionate. I want to do it for the society. I'm a philanthropist. No, I want to do it for the money. So my
Got it.
goals are clear. I want to do it for the money, and I will keep on doing for the money. In exchange, I won't dupe people. I'll provide value, which is a simple transaction, which is how
Yeah.
business works. I give
Yes.
you something which is valuable to you. You give me something which is valuable to me. Both are happy. I'm not doing community
Got it.
service. I'm not doing charity. We're doing business. So this
Got it.
desire for me was there, and when I started earning really good, now the motivation is growth. Like whatever I'm making, I want to have a multiplier in front of it. So if I'm making X, I want to make it, let's say, 2X, 3X.
Yeah.
For example, this t-shirt I'm wearing, this is a custom t-shirt. So you'll see in the video. So this is a t-shirt that I've got it printed. I want to do some t-shirt business when it comes to tech, or I want to sell
Got it.
t-shirts. It is a really good t-shirt. People like wearing it, and it is quirky, it is funny, whatever. So I want to try out this and see if it amounts to my growth in terms of
Got it.
revenue. So this is the entire motivation, and I'm surrounded by people who are also motivated in the similar manner. So I
Yeah.
never found out that I'm slacking off or whatever. But there is also one thing. Even if I do lots and lots of quality work, I'm still not satisfied at the end of the day that it was a productive day. I think
Cool.
it
Yeah.
will stay with me or any other developer, who is a 10x dev. I'm assuming it'll stay with him or her. Ki bhai, they didn't work that much. That is a thing
Yes.
which is, I
Yes. Yes.
think, can help you push your limits. But taking breaks is cool as well. I mean, I've realized this chase will be endless. So it is okay to take breaks in between. For example, if I might go to a vacation or here and there, but ultimately I'll take my laptop. So yeah, that will stay with me.
Yes. I mean, simple and clear, right? Manu mentioned in a very clear manner, and I liked it a lot because see, everyone has some trigger in their life. So for Manu, it was his first project getting picked by someone, and then he got without any interview, and it acted as a trigger for him. And for me, the trigger was that I got my first research paper published, and it this trigger could be different for different person, right? It depends on person to person, but the thing is he has some one more parameter which keeps him stick to his work, right? He'll take break and he'll come back to his work, and he'll have his clear goal in his mind, which is sometimes it's money, or sometimes it's just scaling out business, delegating tasks. It could be anything, but there are some parameters that he has in his mind. And the another thing that he mentioned is that if you're a good developer, or if you are an engineer by heart, right, you will get a sense of pseudo productivity, pseudo productive day at the end of the day when you are signing off. So even for me, when I am signing off my day, I do maintain a Google Doc, like what were the to dos, and what I have delivered, what apart from my company I have done for myself, right? And for non-technical skills, right, communication, like speaking English, what I have done today, right? Have I read book or some things like that, right? So yeah, Manu, I think I'm done with the questions. So yeah, thanks for accepting my request to come on our channel. And if you have any advice, you can share. Yeah.
I mean, you are in a better position to advise developers than me. I'm more into business these days. So there's been
No,
a
no, I mean, yes.
huge transition from dev to coding to now business. So I mostly handle, basic front end business. But I think it is a great initiative by you. I watched the Vinayak's podcast. I mean, it was really, really good. Vinayak is a great engineer. If for those of you who don't know, Vinayak and me go way back. So we were in DPS Jaipur. We have been
Yeah, yeah.
together since childhood. We were benchmates, and then we went into the same college. And then Vinayak helped me get into coding, because when I was about to get serious, I talked to Vinayak. So Vinayak was, fairly serious from the very start in his coding journey. and he was a great engineer also. He used to ace academics, ace coding, everything. He was an ace. So he helped me a lot. So I you know I feel proud that someone from India, and that to my friend, is building something, like intent, and who's really knowledgeable in that front, is doing something apart from, just people mindlessly going towards jobs. And I don't really blame them. Everyone have their conditions, but do pursue what you genuinely like. Don't do it just for the sake of a salary. I mean, salary is a given. You have to work, you have to support your family. If that's the case with you, that was the case with me. I had to support my family. So if you have to do it, do it. But apart from that, apart from your working hours, you should invest some time in yourself. Either learn a skill, a new skill. For example, if I'm building components, I might just go into Arduino, or Raspberry Pi, or or even Rust, for that matter. I might learn a new
Oh,
technology that might open new doors for me that I don't even know exist. What if I start liking Rust? What if I build something in it? What if it sticks? तो वो सारी चीज़, I mean, dabble into tech and be a tinkerer, as the CTO of Zerodha, Kailashnath, says. Be a tinkerer,
yes.
tinker with technology, and be genuinely curious about things that you're working with. If React works a certain way, you should dig deeper into why it works in such a way, and then probably some years down the line you might be able to release your own framework solving that specific problem. So I think if you dabble with tech, and tech can be a great enabler, you can make a lot of money with it also, just by being curious. So if you're that, I think you can go a long way, and be genuinely curious and help people in a way they get great amount of value. For example, if someone mentions X technology, they should be talking about you, like this guy knows his shit is together. Focus on that. I think if you're genuinely curious and interested in your field, I think you'll go a long way anyway.
Got it. Great advice. I mean, even talking to people like you, like Vinayak, like Arpit Bayani, and
Yeah.
these, solo creators, I do like them a lot. Like they are going out and they are focusing on, solving some problems and making money, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Manu, thanks for joining. And guys who are new to our channel, you can subscribe, and we'll try to bring more solopreneurs, or I should say, problem solvers, right? Real
Yeah.
engineers by heart. Yo, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.